Hey everyone and welcome back. Today I'm sharing the time-lapse of my Valentine's edition Glock 19, which has already gained over 1.5 million views. In this video I'll be explaining every step of the design process, including the modeling part as I walk you through it, so let's get started. First I added a plane and beveled the vertex by Ctrl B and V. I subdivided that edge and connected both vertices. I subdivided the other edge and connected both vertices again. I added one loop cut and shaped the vertices with proportional editing. Extruded that edge and scaled down. Then just extruding these edges. Adding two loop cuts. Another extrusion. Then I just move these vertices up. Added a plane and scaled down. Then just adjusting and moving these edges around until we have the shape of the trigger. Adding some loop cuts and then just extruding it. I added a cube and then I just bring it in place. Selected that face and then just extruding it. I added one loop cut and beveled that edge with Ctrl B. Added another cube on top of the other one. Added one loop cut and extruded one face and scaling it on the Z-axis and also bringing it down. Shaping it and then adding a subdivision surface modifier. I also selected all of the sharp edges and gave it a bevel with Ctrl B, and I also set the meter outer to arc and then just connecting these vertices so we have only quads. Then just duplicating it and pressing Ctrl M and Y so we can mirror it to the other side. Here I just beveled these both edges and gave it one more segment. I rotated the reference image so we can see the other side. And I added some loop cuts and matched it to the reference image. I also moved this edge a bit around and give it one more bevel, so we have the same shape. Then I just selected these faces, but just on one side. And deleted them with X and delete faces. After that, I reshaped it a bit. I give it some thickness with Alt and E and extrude faces along normals. I added another cube and just placed it according to the reference. Then I just selected this face and moved it. I added another loop cut and made this face longer and extruded one more time. Then I just went to this menu and selected the shear tool, so we can make it like an angle, and also on the other side. And here I just did the same thing. I give it some thickness and added the shear tool and just moved it in place. You can press the period key and move the pivot point to the 3D cursor. After that you can just press S, Y and -1 and it will mirror to the other side. And it was too big, so I scaled it way down. And don't forget to move your period again to your median point. Then I just added a plane and matched it to the reference image. Adding a UV sphere and also matching it. And copying it and just moving it to the other side. Here I just opened a curve and circle. Then I just went to the curve properties and add some bevel. After that I just extruded these faces and I selected these sharp edges by going to select and select sharp edges. Then I just beveled these with Ctrl B, and you can also press C so these faces are not intersecting. I also added a subdivision surface modifier by pressing Ctrl 2. I also added a subdivision surface modifier to the hand grip. Here I just used some proportional editing to reshape this a bit. I added one loop cut in the middle and beveled it. I selected this face and inserted it with I, and I deleted this face. Then I added some loop cuts so we can connect these vertices. Then we can just connect these vertices by pressing F. And we can also select two edges and pressing F to fill them. And sometimes it happens that you have double vertices, so you can just press M and merge by distance. And if you have filled your face already, you have to press J instead of F, and then you can connect these both vertices. After that I selected some faces and pressed I to insert, and also right click and loop tools and circle. If you don't have your loop tools, you have to go to edit preferences and search for loop tools. Then I just extruded this face inwards. And I also had to delete the face on the inside. And then I selected everything again and just G to grab it and move it inwards. I added one more loop cut in the middle and Ctrl B to bevel it. I gave it 2 more loop cuts to make it a better shape. And here I also beveled this edge. I selected these couple of faces and pressed G to grab them and move them a bit on the Z-axis. I selected these 2 edges on both sides and moved them a bit up, and I also scaled them a bit on the Y-axis. I beveled these both edges with Ctrl B and added one more loop cut in the front, and I moved these both vertices more inwards so we have like a rounded shape. Then I selected these faces again and pressed I to inset. After that I extruded these faces, right click and moved them in on the Y-axis. Then I just moved this whole edge a bit more upwards and also the other ones. And I selected these faces again and I to inset so I have a sharper face. And then I selected all of these faces in the front and E to extrude it. Right click and then just scaling it with pressing S and Shift and X so we can just scale it on the Z and Y axis. I gave it one more loop cut so you have a better shape. And you can also select these edges and press double G so we can move them around. And I also made this whole thing a bit smaller on the Y-axis, so just S and Y so we can make it a bit thinner. Because of the bevel, my topology was pretty messed up, so I had to reconnect some vertices and also add some loop cuts, and just pressing J to connect them. I deleted one half so we can just add a mirror modifier. I just added a circle and rotated. I went to face and grid fill. I extruded it, right click and just scaling it. Then I used my knife tool by pressing K and pressing enter to make a cut. After that I just extruded this face and selected all of these inner faces. Then I just pressed E to extrude these faces. Then you can just select some edges and reshape your Glock with your proportional editing and just moving these edges a bit inwards and also these down here. After that I added a cube so we have not a hole here. And I also beveled these edges. First I tried some pink color, but later I changed it to black and I put the metallic all the way up and also the roughness I put it a bit down. After that I just added an image texture and added the reference image and I add a bump texture and also a normal map. Then I went to the UV section and I adjusted the vertices to the image. Then I changed it from linear to cubic, and I also put the strength way down because it was too strong. Then I selected all of the other parts and used the same material. And here I also made some bevel because it looks a bit too sharp. After that I added some hearts, so I just added a plane and subdivided. I just shaped a heart with proportional editing. And I added a subdivision modifier. Then I just extruded this heart to give it some thickness. Then I just pressed Shift D to duplicate it and scaled them a bit down. And I also copied these hearts to the other side. Then I just added some colors to these hearts, so just like a pink color. And I also put the roughness way down, so they are more like shiny. I also added like a ribbon here. I just wanted to show you what I tried and how it looked. I also copied the principled PSTF because I thought I will use the color maybe later and I didn't want to lose it. And then I just changed it to black and maybe added some metallic. And I also tried some different kind of roughness, and I also duplicated the material of the hearts and I added some emission so it has like a glowing effect. And later in compositing you can add the glow effect and it looks really nice. And you can learn more of the compositing and the glowing effect in my Scepter tutorial. There I show it in depth, and I just played around with the colors and everything and the strength of the transmission. And I changed some parts to black as well. And here I added some text and I copied the Japanese, just pasted in there. And yes, many Japanese people told me that this is not the right way to say I love you in Japanese, but yeah, maybe I could have made more research. And then I just placed it, and the whole of the gun was like in the way, and that's why I mirrored it to the other side with Ctrl M and then just moving it to the axis. And then I just relocated everything and moved it in place. I also removed the normal map because I didn't really like how it looked because of the low quality. Here you see it looks not that good. Here I also tried some different kind of variations, so something like a heart shape and like a chrome shape type of thing. And I didn't really like how it looked, so I removed it later. And then I just added a curve and reshaped the heart. So later that these hearts are coming out of the gun. And then I added some bevel, like some thickness, but I didn't really like how it was intersecting. So I removed it and I converted back to a mesh. And as you can see, it has way too many vertices, so I unsubdivided. And then it looks much better. And later you can add a subdivision and it looks much smoother. And here I just extruded it, right click and scale it inwards. And then we have like some thickness. And also extruding it again and make it smaller, and then I just place it in the gun. Later I just added some keyframes. And here I added a backdrop, so just a plane, and scaling it up and making it completely dark, and also adding a empty cube and moving it in the middle of the gun and selecting everything but not the backdrop, and then just parenting it. And then I press double R so we can rotate it freely. And I just made some angles so that it looks good. And I also made the lights colored, but I didn't really like how it looked. So I removed the color of the lights and just kept it at a white color. And I also put the area lights in all kind of different angles. And then I made this chain, so just these curves and making some thickness to these curves. And then just adding an IQ sphere. So I just removed the other side with my knife tool. So by just pressing K and C to cut it through. And then just removing all of these faces and also making it a bit more narrow. And then I just used a mirror modifier and again my knife tool, and I just cut it a heart shape. And after that I used my C circle select and just removed all of these faces that I don't need. And I removed the other half and then I just reshaped it to a heart. Also with my proportional editing. And then I just pressed Alt and E and extrude faces along normals and to give it some thickness. And before that you have to apply your mirror modifier so that it is not intersecting, and then just placing it and making it bigger. And then also don't forget to apply the same material. And I also added these hearts on top, so just a curve and some bevel. I also want to quickly show you these animation. So here I have these hearts and these keyframes. So the first heart is on this frame here, and the other ones are just delayed, so it's the same keyframes, and the same with the last one. And here you see these are double. One is for moving and the other one is for the scale. So here I just made it a bit smaller, and when they come out they get a bit bigger. But it's just a subtle effect. I think I could have made it a bit stronger. Or for the scale you can just go here to this object properties. And here you see the scale. I put a keyframe, so you can just press I to set keyframes, and you can just move it around. So here I have it on this scale, and you can move this to about here, and then just move it a bit up so it gets bigger, and then just another keyframe by pressing I. And that's pretty much it for the animation. And if you want to make it hover a bit, so like going up and down, all you have to do is just animating this empty, so you can make a keyframe here on the location and move it a bit like 30 frames, and move this on the Z-axis a bit, so on this, not on the normal but on the global, so like just moving it a bit up and setting another keyframe, copy these both, just copy and move it another 30 frames. And then just pasting it, and then it has like this looping animation. And I just set it to 100 frames. I think this is enough. So I just selected these faces on both sides, extruding it, and right click and Alt and S, and you can move it a bit inwards. And don't forget to insert it. So I just added a bump and connect it to the normal of the principal. And then just a Voronoi texture and connect the color into the height. And you can just increase the scale a bit. And you have like this pattern here, and you can put the strength a bit up or a bit down, and then it looks much better. I also added these scratches so you have more details here. And for that I just added this scratches from Polygon, and you can just download it for free. So you can just add a bump and connect it to the normal, and the scratches, and connect the color into the height, and then just Ctrl T. And then you have these two nodes here, and for that you need your node wrangler, so you can go to edit and preferences and search for node wrangler under add-ons and set it to non-color, and then just putting the strength of the bump a bit down. And I also added these little detail here, so just a plane, extruding it, and then just making these bevels here and extruding them outwards. So just very simple. And also here I made these details, so just a couple of loop cuts and then beveling them. And that's pretty much it for this quick time lapse and for my explanation. I hope it was helpful and you could learn something. And thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!